to another grammar lesson with teacher Catalina. Today is such a special day because you get to conjugate your first verb. Don't be afraid by that big word. All that means is we're going to change this verb and make it match the subject pronoun. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to say, I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, they are, and you guys are. Are you ready to get your conjugation on? Since I already have your attention, make sure that you like and subscribe to share the love. All right, guys, so we're ready to go ahead and start our lesson. And what I want you to keep in mind today is that our goal by the end of this video lesson is to conjugate the verb ser. Conjugate? What does that mean? Don't worry about it. It's simply a big word that stands for the fact that we're going to change this verb and make it match the person that is performing the action. What does that mean? You do it all of the time in English. For example, you say, I eat, he eats. Notice the difference? Eat versus eats. That's a conjugation right there. So all we're going to do is take our knowledge from that English conjugation and translate it and apply it to our Spanish subject pronouns and the verb to be. The verb to be, you also know how to do it in English. For example, I am short, but you are tall. I am, that am is a conjugation of the verb to be. Are is a conjugation of the verb to be. So again, you already know how to conjugate to be in English. All we're going to do is put it and translate it into Spanish. During our last lesson, we covered subject pronouns extensively. If you were not able to join us, do not worry. Just look in the description of this video below and you will find a link to that video class. During our last lesson, I told you how important subject pronouns were going to become in the moment that we were going to start conjugating verbs. Since today is the first time we're conjugating, it's very important that you remember what all of these subject pronouns mean. So let's do a very quick review. But remember, if you need a little bit more, that video lesson is below. So, yo, I, tú, you, él, he, ella, she. We talked about usted being you, but in a formal way. Then we had nosotros and nosotras. That's we, and it kind of varies with gender. So again, refer to that video lesson if you need a refresher on that. Vosotros and vosotras, you guys, in Spain. Then we had ellos, ellas, they, we're talking about them. And then ustedes, you guys, I'm talking to you, a group of people. So by the end of this lesson, you are going to be a conjugation expert. You already know how to conjugate the verb to be in English, but just so we are sure and you kind of remember what to be means, let's go ahead and go over those conjugations in English. Basically, what you will be saying is, I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, they are, and you guys are. Your goal by the end of this video is to be able to say all of those things, but in Spanish. So let's start with the subject pronoun yo. Now remember, yo means I. So our goal here is to be able to say I am. So yo, the correct conjugation for ser, for yo, is soy. Yo soy. Good. Yo soy. Excellent. Yo soy means I am. So here's a little extra that I'm going to be giving you in this lesson without really intending to go too much into it. Basically, since you just learned how to say I am, yo soy, you could use that to introduce yourself. You could say, yo soy Catalina. I am Catalina. Yo soy Pedro. I am Pedro. Although it's not the long grammatical structure you may learn later on to introduce yourself, if you're talking to a Spanish speaker, this will work perfectly. You will be getting your message across and you will be saying who you are. I am. Yo soy. During one of my cafecitos, I covered the conjugation soy and I gave you a clever and easy way to remember that. So if you want to look at that, go ahead and check on the description of this video. I put the link for that cafecito so you can remember soy in a funny, simple way. So let's move on to the next subject pronoun. That will be tú. Tú means you. So your goal here is to say you are. So all you're going to do is you're going to say tú eres. Tú eres. Good. Tú eres. Excellent. You are. Tú eres Pedro. Tú eres Maria. You are. Okay? Now, let's talk about this whole line in our chart. When we learned the subject pronouns, I told you that it was important to learn them in this specific order. Here's why. Because although this means he, she, and you formal, when it comes to conjugation of verbs, all these three share the same exact conjugation. What does that mean? That all you're going to do is you're going to use the conjugation es for all three of them. So whether you want to say he is, she is, or you formal are, you're still going to be using es. I know that may be a little bit confusing because you just literally heard me say is for he and she and are for you formal. But that's the way that it works in Spanish. All of the subject pronouns in that third line are always going to share the same conjugation. So let's look at that. Él es. He is. Good. Él es. He is. Great. Ella es. She is. Very good. Ella es. She is. Usted es. You formal are. Usted es. You formal are. Remember that we talked about the difference between tú and usted when we covered the subject pronouns. Tú is used when we're being familiar, when we're talking to somebody that we're comfortable with, and usted is when we're being formal. Maybe somebody we just met, or maybe somebody that we want to show respect to. So again, remember, él, ella, and usted, the conjugation for ser is es. So we're halfway through the conjugations of the verb ser. We basically just covered the singular forms of ser. Remember what that means? We're basically talking about one person. So before we move into the plural forms of the verb ser, let's do a quick review. Yo soy. I am. Tú eres. You are. Él es. He is. Ella es. She is. Usted es. You formal are. All right, so let's focus on the plural forms of the verb ser. Again, what does that mean? It simply means that we're going to be talking about more than one person, maybe two or more. So let's look at our subject pronouns and notice again how it includes more than one person. Nosotros and nosotras, we. Vosotros and vosotras, you guys in Spain. Ellos and ellas, they. And ustedes, you guys. More than one person. All right. So let's focus right now on nosotros and nosotras. Before I give you the conjugation for ser, for nosotros and nosotras, I want you to remember the following. Although nosotros and nosotras changes in gender depending of the mixture in the group, and again, you can refer to that in our subject pronoun video, The verb ser, and as a matter of fact, every single verb, they don't change in gender. So what does that mean? All that simply means is whether we're talking about nosotros or nosotras, this conjugation here stays the same. So let's look at that. The conjugation for ser, for nosotros and nosotras, is somos. The main thing I want you to keep in mind is that, again, this somos stays that way. So regardless of whether we say nosotros somos or nosotras somos, it's still somos. Okay? Okay, so let's focus on vosotros and vosotras. Again, we said that vosotros and vosotras is used in Spain to say you guys. And the correct conjugation for the verb ser is sois. Sois. Now, notice again how the same thing that we just discussed about nosotros and nosotras would apply to this, to vosotros. It doesn't matter whether we say vosotros or vosotras, the conjugation is sois. Verbs don't have gender, they do not change. So make sure that whether you say vosotros or vosotras, you use sois. All right, so here's another reminder of why it's important that we memorize the subject pronouns in this specific order. Here we have the same situation that we had here, but with ellos, ellas, and ustedes. They're all in the same line because they share the same conjugation when it comes to every single verb that we talk about. So the conjugation for ellos, ellas, and ustedes is going to be son. Son. So the way that we would say this would say ellos son, they are, and remember you're talking about them. Ellas son, if it's just a group of girls and you're talking about them. Or ustedes son, you guys are. So again, those subject pronouns here are going to share that conjugation. So just make sure that you remember how important it is to memorize the subject pronouns in this specific order. So as we continue on our conjugation journey, eventually, all you're going to have to do is memorize this side of the board, which is the conjugations, because you already know the subject pronouns in the correct order. So by now, you know how to say I am, you are, so on and so forth. But you may be wondering, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, I like to break things up into little chunks for you so that you are more proficient with these topics, and then you're able to be successful when we kind of put them all together. The first video lesson, you learned the subject pronouns. Now you're learning to conjugate the verb ser, and during our next lesson, I'm going to teach you adjectives, the feminine form and the masculine form. So think about it this way. So far, you're able to say, I am, yo soy. By the end of next lesson, you may be able to say something like, I am tall, I am short, I am funny. Those are the kind of things that we are working towards mastering little by little so that you are successful and comfortable with the material. Now you should be able to conjugate the verb ser in all of its forms. Are you ready to do a quick review? Let's do it. Yo soy, I am. Tú eres, you are. Él es, he is. Ella es, she is. Usted es, you, formal are. Nosotros somos. And nosotras somos. Still talking about we. Vosotros and vosotras sois in Spain. Ellos and ellas son. You're talking about them. And ustedes son. You guys are. Now you know how to conjugate the verb ser. I want to bring something up to your attention because I think many of you have already started making the connection. So let's make sure that we kind of understand something. Although subject pronouns are wonderful, sometimes we can use names to replace those subject pronouns. And you should be able to kind of start identifying how to do this. Let me give you an example. Although I could say, he is tall, I could also say, Pedro is tall. You should be able to think and replace Pedro with a he, which in this case would be an él. So if you don't see the subject pronoun él on a sentence, or you're trying to talk about somebody, you should be able to think that Pedro is a he, therefore an él, and therefore the conjugation would be es. Again, it takes practice, but I want you to kind of start thinking that some of the subject pronouns can be replaced with names. When we're talking about nosotros, I want to bring something up to your attention. That is that the word y means and. Why do you need to know this? Here's why. I may be able to say something like María y yo. María y yo. Think about it in English. Maria and I are tall. Could I say we are tall? Yes, you're right. I could do that. So again, you should be able to kind of notice that anytime I say somebody else and I, anybody else, y yo, that's going to be a nosotros. So in that case, you have to be using the conjugation for nosotros. Not for Maria, not for yo, because Maria and I make a nosotros. So now I am going to give you a virtual high five because you have just conjugated your first verb in Spanish and you did awesome. You did it. You are now able to say I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, they are, and you guys are all in Spanish. Good job. In the description below, I have also provided this chart for you in a way that you can use it to review, share it with your students if you're a teacher, or simply print it out so that you can continue remembering and practicing the conjugations of the verb ser. So make sure you look in the description below for that freebie. Remember that these videos are here for you to accompany you and to support you through your foreign language journey. So, if at any point you need to review conjugations of ser or the subject pronouns, these videos are here so you can play them and replay them as many times as you need. So take your time, feel comfortable, and any questions you may have, you can also leave them in the comments. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me for another grammar lesson with teacher Catalina. I hope that you took away what you needed from today, which was conjugating the verb ser and reviewing a little bit of the subject pronouns. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue to have these lessons together. All right, guys, you did amazing during our grammar lesson today. Look at everything that we accomplished on our Spanish board. Now remember, in the description, you will be able to find a handout that will support you and will help you review the conjugations of the verb ser. If you're a student and you want to review them, that's there for you. And if you're a teacher, remember you can share my lesson with your students in your webpage, and you can also get that handout with the conjugations of ser in case you want to use in your classroom. All right, guys, make sure that you look at the description for a review of subject pronouns, my cafecito about soy, and that handout so you can be ready for our next lesson when we're going to put a whole sentence together. Thank you guys again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again for another lesson or a cafecito with teacher Catalina.